We're here with my good friend Sean Kingzett, certified arborist from the Care of Trees. Sean, it's always a pleasure to see you.
Good morning, Mike. Good to see you.
Everybody should have a certified arborist as a friend. That's all I got to say.
Agree.
And we're here in River Forest, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. And the reason we're here is very specific because we're going to be looking at ash trees today and figuring out how to deal with emerald ash borer. Why is emerald ash borer such a problem in the Midwest?
It's a fatal insect pest. It's an exotic pest. It came in from Asia into the Detroit area, and it's spread very rapidly through the Midwest into Canada, and it's killed millions and tens and millions of trees. It's a beetle, and the larvae of that beetle, the female lays her eggs into the tree. The larvae route around in there, and when they get into extremely high populations, they cut off the water supply up to the top of the tree and kill it. So the reason we need to care about it is because it's fatal. It'll kill the tree. Ash is a very common urban, suburban tree. There's a lot of ash in our landscapes.
And a lot of them were planted after we lost the elm trees,
yeah,
right?
It wasn't a very good lesson to learn.
No, we didn't learn the lesson at all. We lost these elm trees to Dutch elm disease.
Yep.
What did we do? We planted a bunch of ash trees. Yeah.
And there's always something new that's going to come around. It's been around for 5, 7, 10 years or so. Detroit about 10 years.
Yeah.
I think in Illinois maybe 5 to 7 years. But it's difficult to tell exactly when an insect gets introduced.
Okay, now how can a homeowner determine whether they have emerald ash borer?
It's very difficult to tell. The early symptoms, it's not a lot to see. The tree will be a little bit thinner. As the larvae start to feed around in there, the tree's not going to be quite as full and dense. And to the average human being, that's not going to be very obvious that there's a problem. But then later on, the large sections of the tree begin to die back. You can actually see the adults emerging from the bark. And it actually has a very distinctive, what we call an exit hole, a D-shaped exit hole.
About the size of a pencil, right?
Yeah,
I've
very
seen those
thin.
on
Very
ash
thin.
trees, yeah.
And also woodpeckers. Towards the later end, when the population gets very high, it starts to become a severe problem, you'll get a lot of woodpeckers. And so a lot of municipalities, especially in the winter months, they can tell they have this borer in their neighborhood because the woodpeckers are going crazy on the ash trees.
But the problem is, by the time you see the woodpeckers, by the time you see the dieback, it's too late.
It's too late. They're saying about 30%. If you have 30% thinning, not 30% what we call dieback, where the top is actually dying in the tree, but 30% thinning, it's already too late to treat. So it's very important that you actually almost treat proactively, that if you're going to decide to save a tree, that you're going to decide right away and you're going to commit to it and do it. Because if you wait till you actually have the insect, it's going to die.
Now we have some examples of bark that's been damaged by emerald ash borer.
So here's some good examples of how it is that the beetle actually does the damage to the tree.
And it is the beetle, not the adult.
Well, it's the larvae of what happens is the female comes, she laid her egg right in here.
Okay.
And as that larvae came out, it came up and burrowed, and you can see it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Wow.
And then it exits out, and it's called a D-shaped exit hole. And not one of these, not one beetle is what kills it. What happens is and you can see better in this bark where there's hundreds of thousands of larvae in one tree. There's what preventing the water from getting
right.
To
Basically,
the
they're cutting off the vascular system of the tree.
It girdles it or chokes it.
Yeah,
yes.
right. And so none of the nutrients can get up into the tree, and that's why the tree dies.
Yeah, which is also why it's very important to start treating early, not wait. Because if they're already doing this damage, most of the insecticides we're using, they're getting up through the tree.
Well, people don't see it because it's behind the bark.
Yeah, so if it can't move water, it can't get the insecticide up to the top. So if it's too late, you can't get the insecticide to where it's needed, up at the top of the tree.
What are the treatments?
There's several different treatment options. There's insecticides like imidacloprid and dinuteferon that we can inject into the soil. The tree takes it up and moves it up to the top where the larvae will ingest that insecticide and die. There's ones that we can inject into the trunk. Similar materials, and one additional material that we inject into the trunk, same story, it moves it up to the top, and as the larvae feed on that insecticide, they die.
Now, there's a lot of bad advice out there. Among the bad advice is some people and municipalities say the only solution is cut down all the ash trees, and the other bad advice, as you say, is the snake oil salesman.
We're going to save everything.
So you got to split the difference.
You have to balance it. You need to make this decision on a tree-by-tree basis. You need to look at that tree, determine its value to the landscape, your budget, how much do you have to save and protect this tree, and be willing to realize that nothing's 100% going to work every single time. And that's where an arborist can help you make that decision. They walk through that with you, determine how important this tree is, and determine if this tree here is worth treatment and is a good candidate to try to save.
Well, Sean Kingzett, thank you so much. It's great
Very good.
advice, and I hope you're all, if you have an ash tree, get it checked out by a certified arborist, like the Care of Trees, and that's the best way to save your ash tree. Know in advance whether you've got the emerald ash borer.
Coming up, we'll be looking at no maintenance gardening for your home.